semua tantangan. Jiwamu yang baru kini bertata bintang. Lebih kuat dari yang kau bayangkan. Langit terang cerah sambut para pemenang. Selamat kau taklukkan semua tantangan. Jiwamu yang baru kini bertata bintang. Lebih kuat dari yang kau bayangkan. Sambutlah kemenangan.
Yeah, if the world is bringing you down and it's making you frown, you gotta show 'em who's the best and who's fresh. If the world's bringing you down, making you frown, you ain't gotta be down because you're bringing the crown, making the sound. Gotta show 'em who's the best, who's fresh. You want it on the aim success, yes. Gotta stand up tall to be a winner. Gotta transform yourself to be stronger. You should belong here. You're a star, you're a champion, yeah.
Jiwamu baru kini bertata bintang. Sambutlah kemenangan. Langit terang cerah sambut para pemenang. Selamat kau taklukkan semua tantangan. Jiwamu yang baru kini bertata bintang. Sambutlah kemenangan.
Green Radio Line, Saturdays, 22nd August 2020. Yep, welcome. Let's this hope this will be a great day today. Then, it's early 7:20 a.m. in the morning. Our Earth Bumi kita will be air for 3 hours from 7 until 10 in this morning. So stay tuned in Green Radio Line, and we have many topics from international, national, and also local news. And also today we have the exclusive interview with Annie Lestari, the chairwoman of IMA International's Migrants Alliance, and also one of the great UN speaker in 2019. So stay tuned in Green Radio Line until this 10 a.m. because we have a great and interesting story later. So for the first news, we have from the international, which from Friday for Futures. Yeah, on 28th until 30th of August Friday, for futures are calling for the global actions, which is on this people will on the streets and online for a local to of the spread of COVID-19 will be taken under considerations. So today, about 17% of Amazon has already been deforested. And yeah, it's 20 until 25% deforestation is exceeded. More than a half of the rainforest will turn into a savanna. This year, we saw a huge increase of the fires. It's about 6,000 only in July 2020. So yeah, 28% more than in July 2019. And 1,000 fires were reported in the first 10 days of the August alone. Oh my God, this is a really big one. And the UN EU Mercosur trade agreement would fuel the restrictions of the Amazons. Ratifying it while deforestation is increasing will be a victory of President Bolsonaro and a clear sign to the EU doesn't care about the rainforest. If European leaders are serious about stopping Amazon's deforestation, they must put EU Mercosur's agreement on ice. So, moreover, The Bolsonaro wants to pass a law which allows deforestation in the indigenous land protected by the indigenous people has higher biodiversity and more than a land in Amazonia. Protecting the Amazon is a crucial to defend the defenders and act with the international community for Amazon in 28th until 30th August. So, well, all of the green friends, you can interact with me throughout WhatsApp in the number plus 62 822 68 65 3601. So you can share any stories about Bumi Kita or something that you want to share with us. So don't forget to leave your message. Sahabat Green tahu nggak sih kalau pemanasan global itu adalah hasil dari praktik manusia? Ya benar, kita sendiri sahabat Green. Jadi seperti halnya gas rumah kaca, hal ini menyebabkan meningkatnya suhu lautan dan permukaan bumi sehingga menyebabkan cepatnya es di kutub mencair dan permukaan laut airnya itu lebih cepat itu kenaikannya begitu. Dan juga yang bisa kita rasakan sehari-hari seperti udara begitu panas, cuaca begitu panas, ya seperti itulah sahabat Green ya. Nah, sahabat Green, pemanasan global mengakibatkan perubahan iklim karena hal ini mengubah pola alami musim dan juga curah hujan sehingga menyebabkan terjadinya banjir bandang, salju berlebihan dan juga pengurunan. Jadi tiga bencana alam ini bisa dikatakan terjadi karena manusia sendiri sahabat Green. Nah, akibatnya produksi pertanian sering mengalami kegagalan panen dan memperbesar peluang terjadinya kebakaran hutan terlebih pada musim kemarau yang panjang nih sahabat Green. Nah, jadi berangkat dari permasalahan alam ini, dampaknya untuk waktu ke depan memang benar nih perlunya kesadaran kita bersama untuk saling menjaga bumi. Tentu saja tak hanya ahli lingkungan, tapi kita. Nah, kita sendiri juga harus mulai menerapkan hidup yang lebih ramah lingkungan, yang go green demi anak cucu nanti. Karena tentu saja bumi tidak hanya dihuni oleh kita tentunya, dan ada generasi-generasi selanjutnya yang akan menggunakan bumi juga sahabat green. Jadi perlu banget untuk kita melakukan berbagai cara untuk tetap hidup selaras dengan alam. Nah, sahabat Green, hal apa sih yang udah sahabat Green lakukan, untuk menjaga kelangsungan bumi sendiri? Nah, sahabat Green bisa banget meninggalkan pesan kamu, ke nomor WhatsApp kita 0822 6865 3601. Nanti kita akan bacain pesan dari sahabat Green.
Hampa hari
Digital Green Radio Line bersama saya Livia Collins yang akan menemani kamu sampai dengan jam 10 nanti nih sahabat Green. Yang di sini di program Bumi kita akan membahas berbagai informasi tentang penyelamatan lingkungan mulai dari internasional sampai dengan lokal. Nah, berbicara tentang masalah sampah sahabat Green. Sepertinya masih menjadi masalah yang belum ada solusinya sampai sekarang nih kalau kita lihat-lihat. Mulai dari bagaimana mengelola dan bagaimana cara mencegah dari penumpukan sampah itu sendiri sehingga tidak menimbulkan masalah lingkungan yang baru lagi nih ke depannya. Tak jarang sahabat Green kita sering menemukan masyarakat yang membuang sampah di lahan-lahan kosong di sekitar lingkungan. Tapi sahabat Green sadar nggak sih kalau dampak dari penumpukan sampah itu sendiri membuat sampah akan semakin banyak tentu saja ya, menyebabkan aroma yang tidak sedap, menyimpan bakteri dan juga dapat menjadi sarang nyamuk yang menyebabkan demam berdarah nih. Terlebih lagi sahabat Green, masyarakat pastinya akan melakukan aktivitas di luar rumah sehingga tidak menutup kemungkinan akan terkena gigitan nyamuk serta terserang demam berdarah. Dan tentu saja dengan penumpukan sampah akan menyebabkan banjir di kala hujan yang panjang. Selain dampak yang disebutkan tadi nih sahabat Green, sampah juga tentunya mengurangi estetika lingkungan dan merusaknya. Hal ini karena tidak semua sampah dapat diurai oleh tanah. Contohnya plastik, butuh waktu ratusan hingga ribuan tahun untuk dapat mengurai. Dan jika sampah plastik dibakar, maka tentu saja akan menimbulkan masalah lingkungan yang baru seperti pencemaran udara. Maka ketakutannya nih sahabat Green, perilaku membuang sampah sembarangan ini akan terus berlanjut dan menjadi kebiasaan. Tapi tunggu, apa ini sudah menjadi kebiasaan ya? Memprihatinkan sekali ya sahabat Green. Nah, jadi jika dilihat kembali nih, sebenarnya dampak buruk dan penumpukan sampah sembarangan ini akan dirasakan juga oleh masyarakat. Tapi sayangnya hal ini masih tidak menjadi kekhawatiran bersama sahabat Green. Jadi perlu banget memberikan pemahaman kepada orang terdekat terkait permasalahan lingkungan yang ada, tentang pentingnya menjaga lingkungan serta pentingnya itu untuk keberlangsungan hidup bersama. Nah, sahabat Green bisa melakukan interaksi langsung dengan kita selama program Bumi Kita ke nomor WhatsApp kita 0822 6865 3601. Di sini sahabat Green bisa sharing tentang penyelamatan lingkungan apa yang sudah sahabat Green lakukan atau perubahan-perubahan kecil yang mungkin juga berdampak bagi lingkungan. Nah, sahabat Green, selanjutnya kita punya lagu-lagu menarik lainnya. So, stay tuned in Green Radio Live. Masih dalam jaringan digital Green Radio Line bersama saya Olivia Collins di program Bumi Kita. Sekarang sudah menunjukkan pukul 8.09 waktu Indonesia Barat dan pukul 9.09 untuk teman-teman di waktu bagian tengah. Nah, jadi sahabat Green sudah disampaikan tadi mengenai dampak dari pemanasan global terhadap perubahan iklim yang dirasakan sekarang. Pastinya sahabat Green paham banget ya tentang isu lingkungan ini adalah permasalahan dunia, salah satu permasalahan dunia yang terbesar saat ini. Nah, karena perubahan iklim sendiri sahabat Green menyebabkan berbagai bencana yang biasa kita temui akhir-akhir ini seperti banjir, banjir bandang, hingga dengan kekeringan serta salju yang berlebihan di beberapa negara. Tentu saja hal ini menjadi tanggung jawab bersama untuk mengembalikan kondisi bumi dan alam kembali seperti normal sebelumnya nih. Jadi memang diperlukan kesadaran dan langkah bersama dari segala lapisan masyarakat, tak hanya aktivis atau ahli lingkungan saja, tapi juga dimulai dari kita selaku masyarakat di bumi ini. Tapi juga langkah-langkah kecil misalnya seperti langkah pribadi yang sahabat Green lakukan yang berperan untuk hidup lebih berdampingan dengan alam itu penting banget nih sahabat Green untuk bisa mengurangi dari dampak-dampak buruk dari perubahan lingkungan itu sendiri. Nah sahabat Green, up next kita punya lagu dari Anji dengan Ternyata Cinta. Masih dalam jaringan digital Green Radio Line bersama saya Livia Collins di program Bumi Kita yang akan mengudara sampai dengan jam 10 waktu Indonesia Barat. Waktu Indonesia Barat nanti. Nah, sahabat Green dilansir dari daring Kementerian Lingkungan Hidup dan Kehutanan atau KLHK pada Rabu 5 Agustus 2020 kemarin, Balai Konservasi Sumber Daya Alam dan Ekosistem atau BKSDA Bali melepaskan lebih dari 25 ekor penyu hijau di Pantai Kuta, Kabupaten Badung. Nah, satwa laut yang dilindungi ini merupakan satwa sitaan yang telah menjalani perawatan serta observasi di Tatar Conservation and Education Center atau TCEC. Nah, saat dilepas kemarin, sahabat Green kondisinya sudah dipastikan sehat dan siap untuk dilepaskan ke alam. Nah, penyisitaan ini sahabat Green hasil dari operasi Direktorat Polisi Air Polda Bali pada Juli 2020 kemarin. Senang banget ya mendapatkan kabar begini pagi-pagi sahabat Green. Semoga saja penyu-penyu yang dilepaskan ini bisa tumbuh dan berkembang biak dengan baik di lingkungan. Jadi sahabat Green apa nih yang sudah sahabat Green lakukan untuk hidup lebih harmoni bersama alam atau bantuan-bantuan kecil yang dilakukan untuk makhluk-makhluk lainnya. Bisa banget tinggalin pesan kamu ke nomor WhatsApp kita ke 0821 22 6865 3601. Karena pastinya langkah dan cerita dari sahabat Green bisa menginspirasi tidak hanya bagi saya tapi juga bagi pendengar lainnya. Ditungguin ya pesan dari sahabat Green. Masih dalam jaringan digital Green Radio Line bersama saya, Livia Collins, di program Bumi Kita pagi ini. Nah, Sahabat Green, sekarang kita sudah sampai nih di saatnya menyiarkan interview eksklusif yang kita lakukan bersama Eni Lestari, ya, aktivis hak asasi manusia atau aktivis HAM, buruh migran di internasional. Nah, selain aktivis, Eni Lestari juga adalah seorang ketua dari International Migrants Alliance yang berbasis di Hong Kong dan juga memiliki berbagai member di seluruh daerah atau seluruh negara di dunia begitu. Dan juga sahabat Green perlu diketahui Eni Lestari adalah pernah sebagai UN speaker di tahun 2016. Yuk mari bersama kita saksikan bagaimana percakapannya. Sahabat Green, di tahun 2016 mungkin pernah menonton berita atau speech dari Eni Lestari yang luar biasa di forum besar United Nations. Nah, kemarin kita memiliki kesempatan berbicara dengan Eni Lestari. Mari simak bagaimana perbincangannya.
So the things that I know about you, about Mrs. Annie, is that you are Indonesian migrant workers in Hong Kong, and you'll be able to speak in the UN Summit for Refugees and Migrants in New York 2016. And can you tell a little bit about what you're doing there? And
Yeah. So when IMA was established in 2008, the number of migrants in the world and refugee has been very big. Even when I spoke at the United Nations in 2016, the number of the migrants and immigrants were around 250 million people. That is as big as Indonesian population. And we are the fourth nation in the world, right? So you can imagine the people who are being displaced from their own homeland and they are moving from one country to another country is really big. And the number continue to increase every single year because of the poverty, because of the war, because of the climate change now, because of the environmental destruction. So up to now, the United Nations said they have more than 260 million migrants population. Now the refugee is another population. Currently, the United Nations said there is more than 60 million refugee and other displaced people. So when you say refugee, they are basically people who are being recognized by the United Nations, who are being displaced because of war or because of other military conflict, right? But remember, there are also another type of refugee who are moving out from their home countries because of the environmental destruction. So now with the climate change today, there are more areas or territory that is too dry, full of flood, and even with earthquake and so forth. And the community will not be able to return back to their home countries. I think in Indonesia, we have a lot of cases like that. With last year or 2 years ago with Sulawesi and some places in Java Island. So practically this is the people who become refugees. Some become refugee within the country, but some who are able to move out, they will become refugee to other countries. So they are usually stateless people with no documentation, no passport, and no other type of.
Can I know what is your activities now?
Now, because of the COVID-19, everything has been put on hold. A lot of conferences from United Nations, for example. This year, IMA supposed to participate in different international conferences at New York, in Australia, in other part of the world. But everything stopped because of COVID-19, So now we have to change the format into an online forum. So I've been busy participating for IMA in different online forums. Now, every meeting, we cannot even organize face-to-face meeting because of the lockdown and a lot of travel restrictions. So all my meeting is now become online meeting. And even in Hong Kong, where I'm living today, has been very highly restricted. You cannot go out with big group, so only two people, and that really make us unable to get together. Hong Kong is a
Yes.
home for almost 400,000 migrant workers who work as a domestic worker from Philippines, Indonesia, Thai, Sri Lanka, and Nepal. In the past, before COVID-19, we usually always gather, at
Yes.
least every week we always have activities. Once a month, all nationality will come together, we always organize forum, cultural activities. Sometimes we also do protests and lobby with the government. So we were very, very alive as a community. But now because of COVID-19, we can't meet, not even our own members. And because Hong Kong is very afraid with the infection,
Yes.
a lot of employer also they tell the workers not to go out on Sunday. So you can imagine a lot of our members do not have holiday. So we
Okay.
actually lost a lot of our members in the past 6 months, and there are only few people who can go out on Sunday. And this is the people, including myself, who should be working very hard, going around to different community, providing information, helping them with legal information, and we also give them like a free mask, alcohol, like sanitizer. We
Okay.
also try to help them with for example, if they need to go home and they do not know what to do because all the flight canceled, they also need to have a COVID-19 test, So all
Yes.
these things, it become very, very heavy and very hectic. So I've been almost all my Saturday, Sunday, I've been busy with the domestic workers community here, doing all this empowerment and services. Yeah, so I thought with lockdown and COVID-19, we will do less because we always stay in the house. But honestly, we have been doing more than the usual activities in the past. Everything is new normal for us. We have
Yes.
to do the work behind the wall. We have to do everything online. You have to meet one to one. In the past, sometimes we meet like 20 people, 30, 50 people. Now you can't. You only meet like one, two person in one time. Yeah.
There's so many obstacle about us this COVID-19, right?
Yes, that's true. Yeah. It's very difficult.
Saat ini, Anda sedang mendengarkan Radio Era Baru, Green Radio Line, Beyond the Limit.
Masih dalam jaringan digital Green Radio Line bersama saya Olivia Collins di program Bumi Kita. Nah, sahabat Green, tadi sudah menayangkan nih, kita sudah menayangkan interview eksklusif bersama Eni Lestari, aktivis HAM buruh migran dan juga ketua dari International Migrant Alliance. Jadi sahabat Green, kita akan menayangkannya sampai dengan jam 10 nanti. Jadi jangan lupa terus pantengin Green Radio Line sampai dengan jam 10 nanti. Dan sekarang mari kita lanjutkan perbincangan bersama Eni Lestari.
Your activity, you're still working as a postal workers, right?
Yes, I'm still working. Yeah, I've been with this employer for many years, so we have very good relationship and we have a mutual understanding. And then we also try to help each other. So we kind of respect each other privacy, each other time, and also because my employer believe in human rights. And so yeah, something like a cooperation.
But you are also at the same time you're the directors of IMA, right? International Migrant Alliance.
Yeah, so IMA is not an NGO. IMA is a alliance, a grassroots alliance. So this is like a big organization. We have members in more than 30 countries, and then the number of members we have today is around 180 organization. And then we have a general assembly every 3 years. So we have what we call it international assembly. So every 3 years, all members from different countries will come together, and then we will discuss a political issue, the situation of migrant and refugee, and then we will also discuss how is IMA as alliance. So that we have an election every 3 years. So I've been elected as the chairperson since 2008. I'm the first chairperson, and up to now. Yeah.
Oh, so it's been like 12 years you become the director of IMA. That's great. Oh my God. Okay. Can you tell us about the missions of the big missions and also the missions about the IMA itself to the world or also to the local?
Yeah. So what is the mission of IMA? Well, before IMA was established in 2008, the number of migrants and refugees were already a big one. Yeah. But because the problem is we are the people who don't have right to join the union or talk to the government. We cannot travel to United Nations in New York or Geneva. We cannot go abroad to attend conferences. A lot of problem of migrants and refugees are invisible, hidden, like you don't really know what's happening. Sometimes even in the, like in Sumatra, for example, there are a lot of refugees. The Indonesian government even has accommodation, refugee camp, in the border of Sumatra and Australia. And many of them really stay there for many, many years. But no one knows, like they only see them once a while because these people go out, but they don't really understand why are you even there, And the problem also in language, we cannot communicate. Sometimes they are afraid to talk to us. We are afraid to talk to them.
Yes.
But also sometimes the problem also because the local people are so afraid with stranger. Like, who are you? Why you are even here? So many of them have very negative impression on refugee migrants. But
many stigma. Okay.
Yeah, a lot of stigma, and because of that, a lot of discrimination against refugee and migrants, right? But the fact is, actually, if you see migrants, most of us are workers, right? We work in farm, we work in plantation, we work in factories, we work in the houses, we work in the elderly homes, we work some in the hospital. We also work in, like cleaning service, restaurant. We are everywhere, actually, in the construction, everywhere, which country do not have migrant workers, especially country with very good economy.
Yes.
US, Canada, Europe, even in
Mm-hmm.
Asia is Hong Kong, Taiwan,
Mm-hmm.
Singapore, Korea. All this country really rely to the labor of the migrants.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but the thing is, the reason why a lot of our issue, our problem
Mm-hmm.
are hidden is because we are recruited as a temporary migrants,
Uh-huh.
and we are isolated in the houses or maybe
Mm-hmm.
dormitories or labor
Mm-hmm.
camps.
Mm-hmm.
Like in Singapore, they recruited Bangladeshi, Indian, and Pakistan uh, male migrants, but they put them in the camp, in the housing that is very far isolated and no one knows. So and they work very long hours from morning sometimes to evening and sometimes to night, so
Okay.
they don't have time to interact with people. And sometimes also the government always have they also come up with very discriminatory statement. Oh, that is a brown people, or maybe they will
Uh-huh.
say black
Mm-hmm.
people, and
Because
then
of their skin colors, right?
color. So they use the race. Oh, this helper. Oh, this one
Mm-hmm.
is construction workers. Oh, this like in Malaysia they call them Indon. When they say Indon means they are referring to Indonesian who are cheap labor or
Mm-hmm.
people who are in the low rank.
Mm-hmm.
So that's that kind of stigma that is promoted by the government make us all the more become invisible in the eyes of the communities. And because of that, government can easily a lot of regulation. They
Mm-hmm.
come up with a new policies, and they come up with a new, okay, let's make more labor camps, or let's make more this, or don't allow this workers to go to the city, or let them stay there, blah blah. So
Yeah.
all our problem, like
Mm-hmm.
not really many people knows.
Okay.
No,
Okay.
so that's the reason why you can imagine how can we engage in the advocacy with the United
Mm-hmm.
Nations, with
Mm-hmm.
ILO, or with
Mm-hmm.
other international organization,
Yeah.
if you don't have the freedom yourself. You
Okay.
have no
That's right.
freedom, you have no union, you,
Mm-hmm.
you have no supporting system, you don't have any
Mm-hmm.
local who is with you to help you have no one. You are just
Mm-hmm.
staying there for 2 years, 5 years, and then you go home, and then
Mm-hmm.
you work every day non-stop,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes
Mm-hmm.
even no holiday. So you
Yes.
practically work as what we call it a robot or slave.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Slavery.
slavery. So that's
Mm-hmm.
why when we from IMA, we actually say we have to change this. We have to learn how to speak our own problem
Mm-hmm.
by ourselves,
That's right.
and we have to face the government, the United Nations, anyone who actually talk about migration, but they never include migrant workers. I mean, that's very
Mm-hmm.
unfair, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how IMA was formed. So 2005 formed that. We have this motto that for a long time, other people already spoke on behalf, and now we speak for ourselves. So we want to reclaim our position in the decision making process, and that's why IMA in the past 10 years, even 12 years, have been
Mm-hmm.
very active in speaking out.
Okay.
So we go to United Nations, we go to trade union, we go to interfaith communities, we go to any different type of platform that
Mm-hmm.
will help us speak up, and also want to get more and more support from other people,
Mm-hmm.
from the group, from environment group,
Mm-hmm.
from climate justice group, from the youth, the interfaith communities, or
Mm-hmm.
any who believe in human right,
Yes.
actually a right of all. So that's what
Mm-hmm.
we have been doing. That's why in 2016, it was the one of our achievement.
Mm-hmm. Big achievements.
Yeah, it's a big
Mm-hmm.
achievement that the United Nations
Mm-hmm.
invited person like me,
Mm-hmm.
who is really a migrant worker myself, and
Mm-hmm.
my colleague that time was really a refugee from Syria. So
Mm-hmm.
according to the United Nations, staff and
Mm-hmm.
other people,
Yeah.
in the past they don't usually include people from the
Oh,
ground.
okay.
Whenever,
So,
yeah, it's always people from the top, like researcher,
yeah,
a big name, like Amnesty International or Oxfam or what we call it international NGOs,
yeah,
which
I
is
get.
okay, but sometimes they cannot speak the whole thing,
Yes,
you
the
know.
problem, the big
Yeah,
problem, they
they
don't know
cannot
the big
speak the
problem.
whole, yeah, the big problem. You're right.
Uh-huh.
Beyond the Limit.
Okay, so you already mentioned about your networking that you also work with others
Yeah.
alliances, right?
Yeah.
So it was a big movement to what you're
Yeah.
working with. So, and then next, maybe how does you reflect about human issues yourself, and what kind of effort that you made as a movement, this movement to facilitate to solve the problem that you already know.
Yeah, the biggest difficulties for us is really connecting
Mm-hmm.
migrants and refugee groups, because as I said, many of them are invisible. They
Mm-hmm.
are they are in lockdown by the employer companies. You cannot really go there, right?
Okay.
Like for example, plantation in Malaysia, you just cannot go there. And
Mm-hmm.
then many of them also do not have legal documents. So it's really difficult to connect. You
Mm-hmm.
have to use a lot of efforts
Mm-hmm.
and methods to connect with them. Now, thanks to social media, that we have a new channel to connect, right? But even though the biggest challenge for us is connecting the grassroots people who are scattered and isolated in different
Mm-hmm.
places,
Mm-hmm.
so they will also learn from each other, uh, and also they will be motivated, but also they will learn how to speak out. So that's
Mm-hmm.
really the biggest challenge. Yeah.
Okay.
So connection is a problem. Second is language is also a big issue.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You have, a lot of I learned in my journey as an IMA chair that
Mm-hmm.
when I meet people from Europe who is
Mm-hmm.
from Kurdistan, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
from Turkey, or maybe
Mm-hmm.
from Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and I also meet people in US who is coming from different countries in Latin America.
Mm-hmm.
uh, Many of them don't speak English.
Okay.
Yeah. And I don't speak their language too. So
Mm-hmm.
now at least there is Google translation. They
Yes.
at least use that to talk to them, but then
Mm-hmm.
it's very difficult because you cannot do texting all the time, right? You text
Yes.
text 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 like that. So the language is also very challenging for us. So I have to find a good person or
Mm-hmm.
organization who actually can help
Mm-hmm.
translate, connect,
Okay.
and others. Another biggest problem, the third biggest problem is actually how to
Mm-hmm.
bring them to speak out in different forum, maybe in regional or international.
Okay.
So why? Because they cannot travel, because they have to work, and
Mm-hmm.
also they don't have document, and then also sometimes also they are not very confident to
Mm-hmm.
speak out, in
Yeah.
the global forum. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really a step-by-step process,
Okay.
So most
Mm-hmm.
of officer of IMA are really the grassroots. Many of them are workers. They work in
Mm-hmm.
the US, they work in Europe, So
Mm-hmm.
it's not easy to just to just tell them to go up to the podium. You have to
Mm-hmm.
make a lot of arrangement. And then also another problem we face really about
Mm-hmm.
the United Nations process is very complicated.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell about
It's
it?
not easy just to go there and speak.
Mm-hmm.
You have
Okay.
to fill up a lot of form, you have to
Okay.
explain about yourself, and you have to
Mm-hmm.
get a lot of supporter to
Mm-hmm.
even help you to do that. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes they need recommendation who is
Okay.
your partner. So those things is make us very difficult to even engage. That's why many grassroots migrants will just say, okay lah, I will just talk to my own people.
Mm-hmm.
It's difficult to go up. So that's why
Mm-hmm.
my responsibility, and even IMA, is
Mm-hmm.
making sure that to find a way
Okay.
you can do it.
I
Okay,
got it.
let's find a way how to do it, something like
Mm-hmm.
that, to give them the confidence that if
Mm-hmm.
I can do it, you can do
Mm-hmm.
it.
Okay. So
Yeah.
is that IMA also doing some capacity building to the immigrants workers
Yes,
for?
we do actually the capacity building in the past 2 or 3 years. We start doing
Mm-hmm.
that Because again, the reality, it's not very easy because people are coming from different countries. The migration in Asia is quite different with migration in US.
Okay, there's
And
the
in Europe,
specialty.
like, so you cannot just put them together without finding a way how to connect this issue. Otherwise, they will see it like, oh, you are different from me, I'm different from you. But the point is, we are all the same because we come from poor country. We are women. We are also, we don't have a job, and some of us also victim of disaster, environmental destruction. Some of us also victim of war and military conflicts. So we have so many common stories. But this thing we have to find time to share, So in email we have a lot of sharing. So what happened to you? Why you become migrant? Oh, why you become refugee there? Oh, so a lot of this sharing to have a common understanding. So I think that's what IMA is able to help in the past. So from there, in the past 2 years, we try to organize various training for the leader, but also for the members. But again, because international training is very expensive, we don't have funding. So we try to do, now with COVID-19, we try to do it online. Yeah, but in the future, we really want to organize training in different region, in the US, in Canada, in Europe, in the Pacific, and Pacific, even in Asia. We want to organize different training to help the migrants to understand the global context. Why you and me.
It was so great to hear what you're working with, and then it's just so amazing. I can say that I'm a fan of you.
Thank you.
And
thank you for being our supporter.
Yeah, and what you're talking about, when you're talking as a US speaker, what is the international policies that did you want to achieve in the future?
In terms of international policy, the government in the world today, they create another body. They call it the Global Forum on Migration and Development. This body is an informal network of government of sending countries, transit countries, and receiving countries who employ and have migrants and refugees. So, but the problem with this body is different with the United Nations. Okay, the United Nations, at least they believe in human rights, and you can also file case, at the UN. You can also demand accountability from the government. Like, for example, if this government abuse or treat a migrant so badly, you can also ask a report. But the problem is the GFMD, that body is outside the United Nations, and they don't have accountability. And that body is very, very important to migrant and to migrant workers, because they are the one who actually deciding how migration should look like. For example, they are saying, oh, the people who should be protected, only legal migrants. So only, they call it regular migrants. Actually, they are saying legal migrants. But the problem in the world today, many countries, at least 40%, 30 to 40% of the migrant population is illegal, or we call it undocumented people. They don't have documents, but they've been living in the US. For example, in the US, the population of immigrants is around 35 million, but the undocumented is 11 million. So it's a very big number, right?
Yeah.
So how can you don't care about them? So that's the problem. And then the second about this body, the problem with their thinking or orientation is they want to use these migrants, the legal migrants, to create to raise the money and cheap labor, so they can continue with project like we call it a free market project. That means they make a mall, building, a road, real estate from the migrants. That's how Malaysia looks like. Malaysia has became like what Malaysia today, Malaysia truly Asia is because of migrants. Have this twin tower because of migrants. But the problem is this body doesn't recognize the equal right of migrants. That means you don't have right to stay, to change job, or maybe to live there, like with me, I cannot even live in Hong Kong. I've been working here, but that doesn't mean you can be Hong Kong citizen or Hong Kong resident. You cannot do that because this government don't like it. Okay, so that means you are a temporary forever until you are old, and then you will have to be kicked out, to your country. So that is the international agenda we want to change. We actually want that body to be dissolved. We don't need the GFMD. We want all the system to go back to the United Nations, because at least you will have more transparent system where you will ask government to report. And you can also file case to the Human Rights Council, something like that. But now we cannot do that.
So I have been mentions about Green Radio Line as a concerns about environment and climate issues. And according to you, what do you think about environment issues and climate movements right now? Because you've been also mentions about this in the first we're talking, and can you give?
Yes, actually, the environment become we have a new type of migration today that we call them climate migrants or climate refugee. Okay, in the past, when people migrate, it is because of poverty. Like in Indonesia, we are so poor. So people in Java Island are moving out in Kalimantan and other area to Malaysia, to Hong Kong, to Taiwan and others, right? So the poverty. Second is really about the war, like in the Palestine, in Afghanistan and so forth. So they become refugee. But now we have a new family, which is because of the climate or environment. So and then also there are a lot of study who already predicted in the next 50 years, some places in the world will sink. Some island in Pacific will sink to the sea. Some part of Indonesia, maybe some part of Bangladesh will also sink. So that means these people will have to move out from their island, or else they die, right?
Yes.
So, but even today, the people who migrate in the big number, in the whole village, the whole community, as a refugee or as a climate migrants and refugee, are already many. Yeah.
Got it.
And they stay in the border because they cannot go to the city. Yeah, they cannot go to the town. And then even when they stay in the city and they are being taken care of by some countries, they put them in the camp. They don't treat them like they are normal people.
They are a human.
Yeah, they are not like a human. You like stay in the camp, you are just staying there, don't do anything, and others. So there are really a lot of discrimination, but also isolation against the climate refugee. And the problem also with the climate change today, a lot of funding report already that said the global warming is really caused because of the overproduction of companies, corporates. They keep making clothes, they keep making a lot of electronic, they non-stop making, make different type of needs, that we don't even need. And that actually create that increase the heat in the
pollutions,
the pollution and the environment, and that eventually actually speed up the process of global warming. So again, if you have to ask accountability, like who should be blamed for this type of crisis?
Yeah.
It's really the corporates, the transnational corporation who don't care. Like in Sumatra, they just remove all the forest and change it with
palm oil trees,
right? With palm oils. And then remember, Sumatra and Kalimantan, like Amazon, you know,
Yeah,
Amazon forest is part of the lung of the world. It actually, purify, the whole pollution. But now they burn, they burn the forest. So it's really a big concern now in Amazon. They are even killing the indigenous people because they want to take over the forest.
Okay.
Yeah, and of course, I'm also worried in Indonesia. For example, Jokowi already said they will transfer the capital to Kalimantan.
Yeah.
But what does it mean? That means Kalimantan, which is one of, half of the lung of the world today, that take care of the human life and the being in the world, will also be destroyed.
Yes.
So it will become another Jakarta with no forest, very dry, and then what will happen to all of us? So I think you can see that the government, the corporation, they don't really care.
Yes.
And this is the reason why migrant workers, migrants movement, like in IMA, we are also fighting against the corporate, taking away land, killing indigenous people, burning the forest. For us, it is you just create more migrants and you are just killing people in the future, because maybe in the next generation they have nothing to live anymore in this earth. So I think that's the reason why IMA see that climate
Tadi kita ngomong dengan bahasa Inggris nih, padahal kita orang Indonesia. Boleh dong sekarang ngomongnya pakai bahasa Indonesia ya, Kak ya?
Transisi ya?
Ya, transisi, nggak bahasa Inggris mulu. Nah, mungkin udah sampai di tahap akhir nih. Kakak bisa sampaikan tentang kesimpulan Kakak mengenai isu kemanusiaan, human rights yang sedang Kakak perjuangkan, tentang teman-teman kita buruh migran di sana, dan juga isu lingkungan yang tadi Kakak sampaikan. Mungkin kesimpulannya aja nih.
Ya, jadi memang masalah migrasi hari ini itu sesuatu yang tidak bisa kita sepelekan. Sudah tadi saya katakan bahwa jumlah migran di dunia itu sudah mencapai 260 juta, sebesar populasi masyarakat Indonesia, dan 60 atau lebih juta dari pengungsi. Nah, kalau kita kombinasikan, mereka sudah mencapai lebih dari 310 juta. Jadi bayangkan populasi sebesar itu hidupnya terkatung-katung dari satu tempat ke tempat lain, banyak yang mati, banyak yang kelaparan, kemudian banyak yang tidak punya dokumen, tidak punya akses pendidikan, pelayanan kesehatan, dan bahkan tidak punya hak untuk menetap di satu tempat manapun. Banyak mereka, mayoritas semuanya pengen pulang ke kampung halaman sendiri-sendiri ya. Mereka semua, bahkan orang-orang dari Palestina pun yang menjadi korban perang, mereka semuanya pengen pulang. Tapi bagaimana kami bisa pulang? Orang Indonesia pun juga pengen pulang. Tapi bagaimana kami bisa hidup di negeri kami sendiri kalau lapangan kerja susah dicari, gaji sangat rendah, juga kebutuhan sangat mahal ya. Sementara kami punya tanggung jawab keluarga, kemudian juga pelayanan sosial, pendidikan lah, kesehatan itu mahal sekali.
Benar.
Nah, karena mahal itulah yang membuat masyarakat itu non-stop berbondong-bondong jadi migran di luar negeri. Dan inilah kenyataan yang kita hadapi. Bahkan hari ini migrasi di Indonesia itu bukan lagi migrasi orang desa ke luar negeri, tapi migrasi orang kota berpendidikan untuk menjadi pekerja migran di kapal ya, bahkan mungkin di pabrik ya, di rumah-rumah jompo, dan itu menjadi kenyataan, dan banyak dari mereka juga jadi korban trafficking ya. Ya, jadi itu kenyataan yang sebenarnya kita tidak bisa ingkari ya, dan makanya penting sekali untuk kita semua, baik migran maupun komunitas Indonesia atau di luar Indonesia, sudah mulai harus melihat ini sebuah persoalan besar. Mengapa kalau Indonesia kaya atau banyak negara asal kita negeri kaya ya, di Latin Amerika semuanya kaya minyak, kaya kaya hasil bumi dan semuanya. Tapi mengapa kok miskin semua, harus jadi tenaga kerja, harus menjual diri, bahkan harus menjual organ. Kemudian ini jadi pertanyaan, ada apa dengan dunia ini? Kenapa sampai memperlakukan anak manusia seperti ini? Nah, ini menurut saya yang harus jadi pertanyaan panggilan bagi semua pihak untuk mulai mempertanyakan, mengkritisi, dan juga turut membantu membuka ruang-ruang bagi migran yang bersangkutan bisa bersuara. Jadi saya sangat menghargai dengan Green Radio yang mau berbicara dengan saya untuk saya menceritakan masalah ini. Hampir semua tidak ada yang mau. Kalau saya berbicara dengan pemerintah, bagi mereka ini bukan masalah. Jadi ruang-ruang seperti ini bagi saya jauh lebih penting karena bagi saya dukungan dari masyarakat itu sangat menentukan. Ketika seseorang terancam hukuman mati misalnya di Arab Saudi, ketika masyarakat Indonesia bersuara, itu nanti pemerintah akan langsung bergerak.
Benar.
Tapi kalau masyarakatnya diam saja, ya apapun yang terjadi, mau orang dari Malaysia dideportasi sampai mati didunukan, ya nggak ada yang berbicara. Nah ini menjadi penting. Kenapa itu? Bagi saya, bagi International Migrants Alliance, fokus kami memang di penyadaran dan empowerment ya, dan pemberdayaan. Jadi ini hal yang sangat penting. Jadi saya berharap bahwa ke depannya semua rekan-rekan Indonesia dalam kapasitas apapun ya, mau jadi guru, sebagai dosen, atau orang masyarakat biasa lah, ibu PKK ya, atau mungkin di radio, dan gunakan platform yang ada, ruang yang ada untuk mulai mengangkat isu ini. Di Sumatera banyak orang-orang pengungsi. Mungkin jangan melihat mereka sebagai orang hitam atau orang coklat, tapi bertanya, kenapa kamu di sini? Itu pertanyaan yang sepele ya.
Benar.
Tapi why are you even here? Ya, ada apa di negerimu? Ya, kok kamu bahkan tidak bisa pulang? Dan maunya sih kamu di camp-camp ini sampai bertahun-tahun. Emang suka sama camp ini? Ya kan? Mungkin mulailah dari pertanyaan yang itu memang ingin paham, bukan menghakimi ya.
Benar.
Ya bukan kenapa kamu di sini kamu mau dapat apa, dapat uang ya dari sini ya, atau kamu mau ngambil apa dari sini, kok kamu nampak berbahaya sekali. Nah, jadi kita harus juga mengikis rasisme ya.
Benar.
Masyarakat harus belajar mengikis rasisme. Kita welcome orang asing dengan memulai bertanya, mengapa kamu di sini? Nah, dari situ apa yang bisa kami bantu? Ya, mungkin kita nggak bisa ngasih banyak, nggak bisa membuat mereka bebas dan bisa jadi pengungsi di Australia, Selandia Baru dengan cepat. Tapi minimum we can help dengan membuat hidup mereka lebih tenang di tengah mereka menunggu transisi. Kalaupun mereka diperlakukan buruk selama di camp, kita juga harus bersuara. Jadi masyarakat yang menampung ya, maksudnya kayak saya di Hong Kong, masyarakat Hong Kong atau masyarakat Indonesia itu punya suara yang sangat menentukan. Ya, kalau kita speak out, pemerintah akan hati-hati, ya. Bahkan calo yang jahat-jahat pun juga mikir, oh kita diawasi kayak gitu. Tapi kalau kita berpura-pura tidak tahu, bahkan mungkin tidak mau tahu, wah itu kasihan sekali hidup mereka. Nah inilah mungkin pesan saya kepada seluruh pendengar dari Green Radio, apalagi sekarang dengan climate change, dengan COVID-19, semuanya sangat uncertain ya, jadi tidak ada kepastian. Maka solidaritas itu yang harus menjadi kunci. Mari mulai dengan open-minded, ya, keterbukaan pikiran kita untuk belajar dari orang lain, ya. Dan jangan kecil ini ya, pikiran kecil ya, pikiran sempit. Ya saya, kamu gitu ya. Kita manusia samalah. Tuhan pun sudah bilang manusia punya punya posisi yang sama di mata Tuhan. Jadi apapun agamamu, apapun warna kulitmu dan sebagainya, itu mungkin akan menjadi pelajaran positif selama COVID. Orang akhirnya tidak melihat lagi kulitmu apa, semua orang bisa kena COVID kan?
Iya benar. Oke. It was great, sangat luar biasa sekali, banyak sekali pelajaran yang mungkin bisa saya ambil dan juga pendengar Green Radio Line ambil nih dari interview bersama kakak. Semoga di sana sehat-sehat bersama teman-teman kita Ima di sana. Mungkin sekian dari interview kita atau meeting kita hari ini, Kak. Terima kasih banyak.
Terima kasih semuanya. Terima kasih. Sampai ketemu.
Sampai ketemu, Kak. Sehat-sehat ya, Kak. Mari.
Saat ini, Anda sedang mendengarkan Radio Era Baru. Green Radio Line, Beyond the Limit.
Masih dalam jaringan digital Green Radio Line bersama saya, Livia Collins di program Bumi Kita. Nah, sahabat Green, dari interview tadi adalah penutup, juga sebagai penutup di Bumi Kita pagi hari ini. Jadi, berakhirnya interview dengan Eni Lestari, salah satu aktivis HAM, buruh migran di internasional ini, mengakhiri Bumi Kita pagi ini, dan kamu bisa menonton Bumi Kita lagi di hari Senin, Rabu, dan juga Sabtu dari jam 7 sampai dengan jam 10 pagi. Jangan lupa, nantikan terus program Bumi Kita dimanapun sahabat Green berada, karena seperti hari ini, di setiap Sabtu kita memiliki interview yang eksklusif bersama dengan narasumber dari luar negeri, narasumber internasional maksudnya. Jadi tak hanya melek tentang isu nasional, kita juga bisa melek tentang isu-isu yang terjadi di internasional nih. Terlebih tentang isu perkembangan dari isu lingkungan itu sendiri. Nah, sampai di sini dulu sahabat Green perjumpaan kita. Sampai jumpa di Senin depan.
Saat ini, Anda sedang mendengarkan Radio Era Baru. Green Radio Line, Beyond the Limit.